Three, two, and one. Thanks for joining us here on 9 News Plus. I'm Chris Bianchi here with 9 News reporter Noel Brennan, talking about, you've got a couple of interesting artifacts there, discussing kind of some old stories that you looked back through. We have an old warehouse, a warehouse with all of our videos. We just celebrated our 70th anniversary here at 9 News, and you did a story that will air tonight about that. So kind of give us the overview about what you've been investigating here.
So this all started with our 70-year coverage, as you said, and we wanted to take a look back at some of the old stories that we've done at 9 News. I was really interested in seeing like the earliest stuff that we had done on 16mm film. But I'll get to that because there's all sorts of formats that 9 News has used over the years. We store most of our stuff now digitally, right? So we go out and do our stories after they air. We save them digitally, right? But you're looking at now this warehouse where we have all of our 16mm film from decades and decades ago stored. In our building, we also have storage for all sorts of different formats. But this is video of me kind of going through that warehouse, which is just unbelievable. Box after box after box. They're super dusty. They haven't been touched in years and years and years, and they're all labeled by date, which is helpful, but it's also not super helpful because all you have is the date. So I guess what we were trying to do was, okay, let's see if we could find a story that 9 News did around a really big historical event. So I was kind of picking a few dates that I figured, well, we had to do something significant that day, right? So I picked July 21st, 1969 was one of the dates. That was the day after the lunar landing, and I was curious, what did we cover that day? So I found a reel of film, and it wasn't super exciting what I found on there. It wasn't Neil Armstrong landing on the moon. There was some video of the mayor of Denver at the time watching TV coverage of the lunar landing. So there was that. But then there was some video of a woman walking into Stapleton Airport. And this is the video that I'm talking about. For some reason, this was just captivating to me. This young woman, she's arriving at the airport, she's holding Snoopy in her arms, and she's greeted by all of these people. The camera follows her this entire time, smiling faces, she's getting hugs, and I was like, who is this woman? I don't know who this is. There's no labeling on the tape or the film that says who this is. So that was one of the mysteries that we encountered, and it led to a story, and that's something that we're going to be sharing tonight, specifically about that like 30-second film clip. But I'm happy to talk about some of the stuff we have here and some of the cool stuff that we found in the archives.
Yeah, we won't give away the story. So again, you can watch it on 9 News tonight, correct, at 9 and 10?
That's the plan, 9 and 10 tonight. Yeah.
9 and 10 tonight, 9 News. You can watch that. But give us a little tour of what you've got here.
Okay, so I guess the most recent stuff would be, I think this is Beta Cam? Yeah, so this is a Beta Cam tape. So we used to use this years ago.
So what era would this be?
Oh, good question, man. I
Is
don't
this
know.
80s,
Before
90s?
I was working. Yeah, 80s, 90s for sure. This is mid-2000s.
Okay.
So this is Sony DV Cam. We have like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these in the building. So this is from March 26, 2009. I just grabbed a random date. These are really super easy to access because they're right in our building. Mm-hmm. We've got them on this floor, and we also have some basement storage. I always have a good time going through there and just looking up some old stories. But then the film reels, again, are in that warehouse, which is off-site, and we just don't get out there very often. The earliest piece of film I found was this one, and it was from spring of 1956. I don't have a video to show you of what it is, but it's a tire advertisement that we had from 1956. So pretty cool. All the stuff from the early 50s, we went on the air in 1952. A lot of that stuff is just missing. Don't know where it is. It's not in that warehouse. Who knows what happened to it over the years. But most of the stuff from the 60s, mid-60s on up is pretty easy to find in there if you know what you're looking for. So here's an example. This was labeled simply Flood 1965, black and white. I'll open it up for you. So
It's so cool to me. This is so cool. Uncovering news stories from almost 60 years ago here.
Absolutely. So there was the massive flood in 1965, and this includes a short clip of that. I did share a story that kind of talked about everything I found in this reel a few weeks ago. But there was some incredible video of the flood. You're seeing it here, that huge St. Bernard. It's a massive dog.
And this was central Denver, right? This was the one that I think flooded I-25, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And so, yeah, you can see all the muddy ground and people sloshing through it there. It's a very short clip, but yeah, that dog, big dog. So that was one of the clips that we saw on this reel. And then the biggest surprise on this, after the flood, you start seeing video from 1965 in Montgomery, Alabama. And before you know it, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. appears in the frame. So it turns out that we went to Montgomery to cover the Selma to Montgomery marches in 1965. And this is footage that you're seeing that 9 News photographers captured during that trip. There were some local politicians and religious leaders from Denver that traveled to Montgomery during that time, and we had photojournalists and reporters that went with them. And I just randomly picked up this reel, and we took it to a place that digitized the film, and we were rediscovering that footage that is just decades old, and it's part of history, part of Colorado history, and a huge event in U.S. history.
It's exceptionally cool to me, again, just seeing all that history still labeled here and still in play. You're going to have the big story tonight.
Yeah.
We went through the Denver flood. Were there any other stories that stuck out from your visit?
There was one that I got really excited about when we saw it. So again, we didn't see the film until we had it digitized for the first time. So it was the mile-high marker being installed on the Capitol steps. And you're seeing it here. This was actually the second of 3 mile-high markers on the Capitol steps. These are CSU students that did the calibrations to get the more accurate measurement. And so this was in May of 1969, and you can see, putting pen to paper there, getting the right measurements. Turns out this was actually off, and they recalibrated again using modern equipment in 2003. And so that mile-high marker is the most accurate one. But this one is still there if you go to the Capitol steps.
So the inaccurate one's still there?
Inaccurate one is still there as far as I believe, yeah.
How many steps off? Do you know how many steps off?
Oh gosh, I don't remember. I think the students maybe put it up too high and then they recalibrated to a lower step. But there's also an engraving in there that says mile high. So there's 3 different markers currently on the Capitol steps, but the one in 2003 apparently is the most accurate.
So why didn't they just use their the compass on their iPhones?
It's a great question. You have to ask them in 1969 about that.
That said, there's so many years archives that you've got to go through there.
Gosh, yeah.
Any other big highlights that stuck out to you?
I'm trying to remember. I mean, just one reel. It just amazes me what you can find on there. That was one single reel, those 3 different stories. One that was kind of surprising was a nuclear power plant that I had never heard of. It was the Fort St. Vrain nuclear power plant in Weld County, and we were able to digitize that film as well. It was a construction of this reactor, I guess, that they're moving into place. This video to me is just incredible, and the photographer and reporter rode up on that little elevator, for lack of a better term. It's literally just a crane that is hoisting up these people to capture that incredible footage. But that nuclear generating facility is no more in that form. I guess it operated from 1979 to 1989. But I didn't even know it existed. Yeah, but it was the first and only nuclear power plant in Colorado when it was
Wow.
being built in the mid-'60s. But just something I randomly discovered by picking up this reel. And again, it was starting by just trying to find maybe a date that was around a significant historical event, but then others that just, okay, well, this is the oldest piece of film I can see, so I'm going to grab this and digitize it and see what's on there. But Chris, there are thousands and thousands of reels that we could pick out and rediscover a story on there that would be relevant and interesting today, I think.
100%. Can you walk me through the behind the scenes process? You mentioned digitizing it.
Yeah.
How is that a tedious process? What is that like?
So I don't know how to do it. We can't do it here at 9 News. We don't have the equipment, but we did take it to a place, Rocky Mountain Audiovisual Productions. We grabbed the reels that we wanted and we took them to this place, and they have the equipment that they can do all sorts of different types of conversions of different types of formats. So they put this, reel of film, and you're seeing some of it here, and that contraption there that shines a light onto the film, and then it's just really a camera that is focused on the film itself as it passes over it, and then it video captures the film as it's coming across. So then they have a digital version of it, and then they get the imperfections out of it, and then they give us a digital copy of it. So, yeah, it'd be cool to have one of those, pieces of equipment where we could do it ourselves. But it is a tedious process because you have to do it in real time, right? The film you have to go through the whole reel of film as it's playing, capture it, and then put it into an editing program, and then export it, and then at the end you have a digital file on a thumb drive, right? So it's a process.
So it's not just you got a little contraption there that you plug that into and then on we go. It's multi-day, maybe week process, right?
Yeah, absolutely, depending on their workload. And they also have sound to contend with too. So a lot of our film had sound on it, and capturing that is a whole nother process. So they have to run the reel through a projector, and then they hook up the projector to some audio recording equipment that will capture the sound coming out. So, and then you have to match the sound with the picture that you've captured. So it is a tedious process, but one that I think is well worth it. If we're going to revisit stories and save this archive that we have digitally.
So, again, one of the reasons we are chatting here today is that tonight you're going to air what I think you would consider to be your most interesting story that you found within all this. Is that correct?
I think so. So, and again, it was the video of that young woman arriving at the airport. There was just something about this video that intrigued me, and I was curious. And photojournalist Tom Cole and I went about this together. And this was an adventure for both of us, digging through all this old film. And this clip in particular, we ended up putting it out on Twitter and asked people for some help solving a mystery, who this person might be. And Twitter pulled through, and we have some great surprises and a great story to tell, I think, tonight that people will be into.
Yes. So, and I've seen the story as well, so I can also verify that it's a fascinating story, to say the least. So you're certainly going to want to tune on in. Again, 9 News tonight at 9 and 10, correct? Is that when this story will air?
Story's going to be at 9 and 10, and it'll be posted on 9news.com later tonight. Okay,
and tonight being, of course, November the 18th. So for viewers out there, Friday night, you got nothing to do. It's a cold night anyways, so you're probably going to be inside anyways. So again, watch 9 News with Noel, with this wonderful story which took a lot of effort and a lot of digging, but I'm excited to see it.
I am so excited for people to see it. It was so much fun to put together, and I'm just thrilled to kind of unearth this old video and have a new story be told.
Well, thanks for telling the story, and we're, again, excited to see it. So Noel Brennan, we appreciate a few minutes of your time. Thanks.
Thanks, Chris.